Hello everybody and welcome, I'm Noah2. Thank you for watching this video. Another super common question that you hear all the time, you see it in the chats and Twitch channels and things like that is the restoration armor worth it? Is the tactical armor, is it worth it? I'm going to be answering those questions, going in depth about where they're strong, where they're weak, circumstances where you can maybe get value out of these things, but why realistically, and spoilers, why they're just in general typically not as good as the standard shield and helmet. So, before we get into talking about these two different armor types individually, let's just generalize the cycle frontier. I love thinking in terms of big picture or in terms of principle. Let's set the foundation here. What can you do in the video game, the cycle frontier? What can you do? What are you doing? You might ask yourself. Well, in this particular video game that we are all playing, there are three things that you can, in a very general sense, do. Right? Remember, principle, big picture. In the cycle frontier, you can do any one of these three things in any combination during any given match. You can PvP, fight other players. You can PvE, right? Player versus environment, which is where you are fighting alien creatures, AI creatures. Or you can loot. That's it. Those are the three things that you do in the cycle frontier. You fight players, you fight the alien AI, or you're looting equipment. That's it. You're looting stuff. So you're fighting players, fighting creatures, or you're looting stuff. Those are typically the three things that we're doing. So let's weigh restoration armor and the tactical helmet against those three scenarios. So PvP, restoration helmet and restoration shield. You're at an immediate disadvantage because they lack of armor. The restoration helmet and the tactical helmet both have less armor comparatively to the standard armor of their particular color. So we lose 3 points of armor, and that is significant. At all three of these, the magic number for armor is 17, 23, 26, and 28. Those are the magic numbers when it comes to weapon penetration. And you'll sort of notice the pattern. A lot of weapons penetration are not necessarily in between these numbers, right? The Scarab, the Bulldog, the Manticore, they got penetration 17. The Phantom, the Phantom Lancer, the Phasig, whatever, the Lancer, it's got penetration 23. A lot of the weapons, if their penetration values will typically match one of the armor values. So if you're fighting anyone who's wearing or using a green weapon for the most part, this lack of armor means that your opponent is going to be dealing bonus damage to you to some degree. So when it comes to PvP, restoration armor really doesn't cut it. Not only are we lacking the armor, the health that we're gaining slowly over time is really not combat viable. The amount of time it takes, even if you're wearing both armor and helmet, the amount of time it takes for you to generate enough health that you can maybe absorb one extra bullet before dying is way too long. It's literally not combat viable. If somebody shoots you up real good and they know that you're hurt, restoration armor and helmet are not going to save you. They're going to push you, and you're going to have some sort of other play in order to survive, right? Because just going, I'm going to take the fight anyways because I'm restoring health over time is not going to be viable. So in PvP, this is not good. You'll be at a disadvantage in a direct fight wearing the restoration armor at pretty much all of its levels. In PvE though, player versus environment, is the restoration helmet and armor kind of useful? Kind of. Actually, I'm sorry, let me back up. The circumstances in PvP in which this where the restoration armor might be valuable is in the long play, right? You take a fight, you get some shots, and you're running around, and you're maybe doing a big flank or repositioning, right? and all that running around that you're doing is buying you time, or you're doing a big flank and your opponent's trying to figure out where you've gone. Maybe because of this armor, you don't need to stop and stim yourself, because you're going to restore that extra bit of health right at the end, or get you pretty close to 100%. That might save you time, making your flank potentially more successful. The theme of this, though, is that you're going to find that when it comes to the restoration helmet and the tactical helmet, it's very circumstantial, right? What I just described is an extreme circumstance, a niche scenario, a nuance of potential benefit here. Right, so I just wanted to say that as sort of like a little devil's advocate here for myself, but for the most part, right, only in the most extreme circumstances will the restoration helmet be valuable in PvP. For the most part, though, you're going to be at a significant disadvantage. For player versus environment, though, PvE, is restoration armor and helmet useful? Sort of in the same light. If you're not going to be able to just face tank damage, right? The amount of time it's going to take to restore health to the point that you can survive an extra hit from a Marauder, it's just really not viable, right? The restoration armor is not fast enough to allow you to just take more damage in the middle of a fight, even if you're just fighting the alien AI. But it is in the PvE circumstances, though, I do think that the restoration armor finds its value. This is where the restoration armor is most valuable, is if you're going to go hunting for creatures specifically. Why? Because here or there you might take a bite from a Strider, get clipped by a little bit of the urine spray from the Rattler, right? Things like that. All those little bits of damage, you would typically have to take a stim and heal it up. But you can sort of be greedy now, right? We're not looking for players. We're maybe off somewhere that's relatively safe to hunt creatures. We're using a silencer on our gun. The circumstances there is that we can actually save quite a bit of stims when we're hunting creatures here. We don't need to worry about it. And when we're hunting creatures, right, where maybe we're looking for marauders, we find a marauder, we hunt it, we get it, we pick up its loot. But now we're moving on to a new location to find a new marauder. That travel time where you may have taken some damage might heal your health over time. Maybe you're going on a big expedition as far as hunting goes, and just the health over time here might find some real value when you're exclusively going into a match to find PvE and hunt creatures. And it'll just be a value over time thing where you won't have to use as many stims as you take little bits of damage here or there from the alien creatures. So, again, kind of circumstantial, but I do think that there's slightly more, there's a little bit more value here for the restoration armor when you're fighting PvE. Though, again, you know, these raids are random. You might be fighting PvE and then find yourself in a fight, and all of a sudden, you're just in another situation where the armor's not good again. The third thing, looting. Is the restoration armor good for looting? No, not really. There's no real value in it. The only circumstances where I can think you might find value in the restoration helmet is you're skimping out on meds for some reason, right? We're looting, we're avoiding combat, we're avoiding players, we're avoiding creatures, but maybe we take a bite from a Strider, maybe somebody shoots us from off in the distance and we just run away. As we're looting from point A to point B, we can heal ourselves, and maybe we say, hey, you know what, normally I bring in 15 stims or 10 stims. I'm going to cut that amount down a little bit, get some extra space in my backpack so I can loot more stuff, right? I'll just rely on the restoration shields to carry that value for me. That's really the only circumstances that I can think of that might give value to the restoration armor when it comes to looting. Again, pretty niche, pretty specific. So overall, I would say the restoration shield and helmet, not that good. Kind of neat, kind of cool to sort of like save a stim when you've only taken like 5 points of damage and you just don't have to worry about it. But beyond that, the circumstances in which you get some sort of advantage for wearing the restoration armor just almost never happen or come up. So, tactical helmet, tactical shield, the tactical armor gives you extra stamina. Just extra bulk of stamina. I don't know how much it is, but you can sprint for longer and jump and climb more stuff before you are breathing heavy and all out of stamina. So when it comes to PvP, same disadvantage, we lack the armor. So in a straight up fight where we're just trading bullets, we are weaker than our opponent almost no matter what. But extra stamina though, running around, sprinting, taking cover, maybe doing a flank, things like that, there could be some value there, or even just running away. How can they catch me? I have more stamina than them. I do think that in general there's more potential here for the extra stamina, the tactical armor, than there is the restoration for PvP. Though I will say it's pretty niche. Again, you might be doing a big old nasty flank to get a different angle on your opponent. In my experience with running flanks like this, I am almost never found myself in a position where I have to run a flank so wide or so big that I'm running out of stamina. I just found that at least where I'm getting into fights, the way the terrain is laid out, I can usually get a really good flank and get the angle that I want with my normal bar of stamina. No extra tactical needed, really. Though there might be some circumstances where that happens. The only other value that I can really think of, the tactical armor, is that maybe you see someone off in the distance and you can sort of guess or gauge where they might be going. Well, your extra stamina means that you can chase them down, or maybe even take a different path, get ahead of them, or meet them at a particular junction and set up for them as they run by. Things like that. Obviously, the circumstances in which the tactical armor excels is basically when you're sprinting from point A to point B. So if you can be really smart about understanding why you need to get from point A to point B, you're looking for opportunities where point B could result in a easy kill for you, or what have you, then there could be some real value in the tactical armor. So even though I would say overall, in general, when it comes to PvP, the tactical armor is rather circumstantial, just like the restoration armor, I will say though that there's probably more potential here to get value out of the extra stamina. Keep in mind though, if you're not sprinting, you're not getting value out of your armor, so you need to find opportunities to outmaneuver your opponent in order to get any amount of value out of this armor. So again, rather circumstantial, but maybe slightly better than the restoration armor when it comes to PvP. When it comes to PvE, there's pretty much nothing here. The only value that this armor gives us when it comes to PvE is that we can sprint for longer. So when a Marauder is chasing us or a Strider is chasing us, right, we could potentially have enough stamina to sprint all the way out of their aggro range, maybe not have to climb up stuff so much, or be able to get to a climb up point so that the aliens that are chasing us are not no longer able to hurt us and things like that, right? For the most part though, other than those particular circumstances of just being able to run further, not a whole lot of value here for PvE. Let me know if you have any other ideas on how this armor could be really beneficial for PvE, but for the most part, you don't need the extra stamina to fight Jeffs. You can just run around a tree or a crate, pretty much use no stamina to do that, and infinitely loop a Marauder around. No big deal. So PvE, I think the tactical helmet falls below the restoration armor, but again, just overall, the general shield and helmet are actually going to protect you from damage, more damage from the Marauder and other things like that. Looting. The third thing that we do in the game, tactical armor, this is probably where it shines. You need to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible, get your loot, and then get to your extraction. If we were to consider time spent in raid, more time spent in raid means there's more opportunity to run into players, and tactical helmet will give us the ability to avoid players, outrun them if they're chasing us, get to our extraction with all of our juicy loot, and get out safely. So in that particular circumstance, if we're avoiding combat with players, avoiding combat with the aliens, and we're just running from loot spot to loot spot and then getting out, Tactical armor is great for that. It is truly awesome for that. That is where it shines. I think this is actually a circumstance that can be really, it happens all the time. You might be doing rat runs, right? You might be doing some rat runs to get your knife, get your backpack. I don't know, maybe you've taken a PDW or a scatter gun, or not a scatter gun, a trench gun, right? Slap on some white, some common tactical armor, right? Sprint faster, things like that. So I think when it comes to looting, loot and scoot mentality and get out, tactical armor is actually something very, very viable. Though again, right, weak in PvP, weak in PvE, those are your trade-offs for having the ability to potentially loot faster and get out faster. One thing that I do want to mention when it comes to both the restoration armor and the tactical armor, I will say when it comes to these armors not being as good as the standard armor, it is doubly true for the shield or the vest, because that's where you're going to be taking most of your shots. So if you're wearing a restoration shield or a tactical shield, that's really where you're going to be feeling the pain, I think, when it comes to combat with players. So I have been playing around with and had some success, and it feels kind of good actually to just, maybe you just wear a tactical helmet, right? Wear the good body armor, but wear the tactical helmet or wear the restoration helmet. If somebody's going to shoot you in the head in this game, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt regardless, right? It's going to hurt regardless. So I figured headshots already do a lot of damage to us. Technically, I think wearing the helmet, obviously it's going to do even more damage to us. But for the most part, if somebody's landing headshots on you, you're probably dead anyways. So I figured maybe it's not that big of a sacrifice just to wear standard armor and then sneak in a tactical helmet or sneak in a restoration helmet. And you sort of diversify your armor now. We have the good body armor, but a little extra stamina. The good body armor, a little bit of extra health regen, so we don't have to, we can save a stim here or there over the course of our raid and be economic that way. I've actually had a restoration helmet on at only, or plus a normal shield, and I did end up running out of stims over the course of the raid, and being half health and running away from players who were chasing me, by the time I got to my extraction, I had full health again, and I was ready to take a fight. Again, niche circumstance. But I do think if you like the idea of having these potential benefits, I would recommend wearing just a helmet. Just a tactical helmet, or just a restoration helmet, but then wear the good body armor, because that'll sort of give you the best of both worlds, and you sort of just hope that they don't shoot you in the head, because it will hurt extra, though getting shot in the head already hurts quite a bit. That's my take on the two unique armor types. Let me know what you think in the comments. If I missed anything, any other circumstances where you think these armors might be good or particularly bad. For the most part, though, the standard for PvP is going to just be the normal shield and the normal helmet. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see you in the future.